Hello and good afternoon, or good night, or morning, wherever you are in the world. This is an online version of the Fraiendly Aspice, where we discuss approaches for improving performance by fostering innovation with mixed insights from different areas, taking into account how both the human brain and artificial intelligence work. And we will not speak about each of that in detail. We will speak more about gaps between, in order for you to rethink approaches, applying engineering processes such as Aspice, automotive software process improvement, just as example, but it can be any process. This rethinking will be through other areas like event. Basics would be how human brain works compared with how AI works and how to apply it for the future. So the agenda would be three main areas. One would be the human brain. Two, it would be AI or large language models. And three will be processes, Aspice as an example. As basis, we will take best practices known until the current moment. Let's start with brief introduction. About myself, my name is Evgeny Vasyuk. My friends in Ukraine call me Zhenya, and my colleagues at US call me Jenny. It's shortcut. So through all my career, I'm passionate about process improvement and quality. I started as programmer in early 2002, was freelancer, then worked as a researcher in one of the state building companies. We designed the CAD systems. Then I worked quite a bit in sector of modeling, and then my career did some patterns. I was switching between embedded automotive and web development. In general, I'm about more than 20 years experience in software development industry. I like engineering tools, frameworks, and methodologies. Recent years, I spent as process improvement and quality assurance, and also kind of DevOps or tool expert. I leverage digital transformation using open learning, innovation, and model-based engineering because I believe the future is behind that. I was born in October 1980. I mentioned I grew up in Ukraine, and at the end of 2019 moved to USA with my wife and two daughters. So through my career, I cherish agile mindset, and I started adopting it in early 2005 from XP. Happy to develop process capability, tool sets, and methodologies for all organizations I worked with. I enjoy basically see how process which I have established efficiently work for self-organized teams over years. It's like, when you plant a tree and you see how it grows and start bringing fruits, it's just enjoyable. I hate cases when being boxed in corner and said, you have to do this and that without underlying reason why. And what is the value behind doing that without the goal behind the process? And it's like being forced using bad processes, and too often I found them rigid, impractical, and irrelevant. This also became a point of my research and my future work. I believe in power of global communities. Often see it vanished or underused for that or different reason. But future is about improvement and innovation, as you would see with the coming of new technologies, especially artificial intelligence. Is crucial for human to know latest trends in that field. And one example I know from my experience, like many organizations want to adopt agility, but they lack understanding on how to better approach the transformation. or some of them even try to make this, not only make this change, but even invite the coaches. Similar with AI, companies started to implement it, started to try it, but they're still afraid. What is behind that? There's a lot of uncertainty. And as you will see, even the standard processes like Aspice in new version being upgraded with AI chapters. You can find more details about me on LinkedIn or contact anytime through email. So a little background, why the story, what is noticeable in life, what observations in life and work. So from life, as you can see, despite progress in technologies, people still lack time and happiness. A lot of overload, a lot of distractions. Basically, distraction is a major weakness because to get focused. Yeah, I just got notification on my phone and got distracted. To get focused, you must get rid of distractions. And when there's too much information, too much channels, it's easy to get lost. For example, when you read some book or when the event passes or you read some blog or article, the information simply vanishes in time. With advanced technologies, many focus is devoted to teaching machines how to make the machine more smart, to make it more efficient, more powerful, but we often forget about humans, about our brain. From work perspective, project teams consider processes such as SPICE. I just use this acronym as an example, it's a good example. They consider it as our head. Programmers want to code more, to focus on work in hand and not being distracted by processes and documents. Challenge is making process for human engineers so that they like it, so they focus, so the process helps them focus on their work and not distract. It should be naturally available and user-friendly for them, but still reliable because the devices and systems we build are used in safety critical, like autonomous cars or some medical fields. And what else about observation about work? There are some afraid that when AI would start writing processes instead of human, it's already available now in the stages system, for example, and some others. So there are some chances that jobs of process engineers might not be needed. One more question of compliance and quality rise only when some checks or audit, but not during the journey of work as software engineer, for example. I would give few examples from one resource I was referencing. So when you research results and you get those results, there are some chances that those findings which you are getting from research are distorted. In books, blogs, and other media, you find a ton of information which is definitely helpful, but you need to be careful consuming it because it might be generated using not trusted sources, or those sources might be distorted. So enough about background. So there are certain problems which has to be addressed, and they have not been addressed for a while. And from my personal experience, I noticed that in activities which humans perform, often we can find the certain patterns. So this exercise normally I do in a group, and I ask people, okay, what's common and different in these pictures? And just for the sake of this online version, I bring the answers which I normally are getting. So here they are. So what's the commonality between this? It's all physical activity. Which these pictures provide guidance for graphical instruction. It contains some elements of cycle of repetition or iterations because it has probably arrows and directions. And in most cases, it's one-way direction. Some of them are cyclic, iterative, and they have start point, end point, have certain prerequisites, basic elements, and they are quite complex. What is different? One difference is team or single, or maybe couple, like yoga, single, football is a team sport, yep, or bodybuilding, and swimming, you do single. Environments, here is water, here is grass, and so on. Here's some more metal. Types of domain. So amount of information, how much is it digitalized, timing, and artifacts, or absence of them. For example, for football, you need ball. For swimming, you need some maybe goggles or other equipment. Anyway, often people spot some limitations. So physical tiredness, because we are human, score, some like football or some other have scores, and time if it's a game. Others can be just timeless. Basically, when humans learn something, they are getting information from environment. For that, they need attention. Once you have attention and you have some memories from the past regarding the same subject, when you get that attention, you get that information, it connects with your existing information and you getting those neurons fired, which becomes part of long-term memory. But except of long-term memory, there is working memory. And to get from here to there, you need certain paths. And the path is called remembering. Otherwise, getting forgotten. Maybe not completely forgotten. It can be restored if you get new attention from environment. But the gap is here. You're getting less inside your working memory, and you get more in long-term memory, and everything else is forgotten. If not now, then maybe in a few days or a few weeks or months. What defines how good this information is consumed? So it has to be clarity of communication. Memory is a residue of thought. It's natural 3 times rule. So 3 times you repeat, you remember better, right? Learning environment, steady habits, concentration, it matters for your input, for your intention. It depends in which environment are you, in home or social context or in library or in which life condition or phase you are. Also prior knowledge, if you had some experience or even maybe you have some habit which you just polish and you improve that habit and you have motivation to learn, then it brings bonus to your long-term memory. To remember things, we need generative activities like range, how often do we repeat it, depth, how deeply we go into research, how varied is the information or information sources. So often when we have sound, the picture is better than just sound, right? And small steps, and this picture and voice called dual coding, and some knowledge management practices might help you to get better in learning as a human. But here is something which we can get from other fields like artificial intelligence. Before going there, one information here regarding open innovation. What is this? It's a mindset towards innovation. For example, one is closed innovation when in the corporate environment we have certain conditions when knowledge is being restricted by boundaries. It's so-called silo mentality, where information doesn't go from the labs, it goes to the market only with through certain filters. From the other hand, there is open innovation. Yeah, there are some corporate limits, but there are some interfaces where internal ideas can be mixed up with external ideas. And at the end, it can bring to the market something more unique. This concept was promoted by Henry Cherbourg in reference to increasing embrace of external cooperation in a complex world. You can have more details on my article, and it is the image grab. So one of that external element to our improvement would be AI. And for that, we'll glance for this broad topic, we'll only glance how that AI is working. As basis, so just few, maybe it's quite complex graph, few explanations here, structure. At the bottom are documents and data sets like books, articles, video, any input, right? It's called data. At the top, we see knowledge, and at the left is information. Maybe it's consider it as view from the top on the pyramid. And to look at this pyramid from the side, I for a while bring this one. So data is transformed into information, and information is transformed into knowledge, which later might become wisdom. And from data we can structure in processes which can result in knowledge and result in wisdom. So back to this picture. And back to our artificial intelligence topic. So what AI uses large data sets, so-called LLM. So what LLM does, it takes all those information, parses it identifies keywords, tokens, process it, so-called semantically process, to identify some structure and connections. And this structure is used then to train themselves to recognize the similar patterns. This learning often done with human intervention or with some fine-tuning by humans, so-called human in the loop. So once the model is being taught, it can be then used in systems like ChatGPT, which user can interact with, and that's quite powerful now. It can help humans perform many tasks, such as even write code, paint pictures, and not speak about writing books. So examples when you can even on the internet, you can find a lot of books which written by some patterns. They take 1, 2, 3 inputs for some subject, and voila, in a few hours, new book is generated. And with nice title and with nice promotion, that book can be available and sold. And there could be so many such books that you will not have time to read them. Unlike traditional machine learning models, this LLM can provide insights without retraining. So once you teach the system the principles of learning, it can teach further himself. And this way, system can be almost can have almost limitless possibilities. Like it can bring new systems, and someone can even hijack those systems for some not good reasons. And for that, like one company for AI called OpenAI, they control what's coming into this learning, and so to avoid some dangerous patterns. So enough on this. I just would add that information. There are 3 use cases. When AI is implemented without architecture, you might end up with failures. Data, then you get information, and then you get some knowledge. And with that knowledge, you bring some intelligence, and you get money at the end. The better approach is when you start with value, what you're trying to achieve. And then both 3 layers, like data, information, and knowledge, little by little, you combine to get that value. And in the second iteration, you get another bit of that. And after a few use cases, you get more. It's similar from agile practices, but just meaning that if you have some architecture applied to your approach, it's always better than just randomly gather the data, or gather data and try to shape it until you know why you need more, until you bring the intelligence at the end. So we looked at the human, we looked at the AI. Quick look here before we started mixing and blending all this salad. Quick look at the Aspice. With the new version 4.0 released recently, is what they have brought. I not touch other topics like was they removed or was they changed. I would just pay attention due to the time limitation on this couple of blocks: machine learning, engineering, process group. What's interesting about this, that this block assumed to be used in a highly iterative way. And this advised in Annex C3, the new version of Aspice. So that machine learning used in iterative way within the software architecture, meaning that it would be applied in each blocks above. It's requirement analysis, architecture design, and so on, in short iteration. And question is, and you know probably how hard it is to use this V model and or to use it in combined environment with agile practices. And imagine if they brought already this machine learning, and you would be forced to, and they actually say that it has to be, it usually should be applied in highly iterative way for the practices. You can imagine how robust your process architecture should be. Second, this block, machine learning 3, they say that you should start with specifying machine learning training and validation approach. Based on this approach and the validation dataset need to be created from machine learning data pool provided by Sub-11, machine learning data management, which then used iteratively to optimize the machine learning model weights and hyperparameter values. Not very clear, right? So at least for you as a process engineer or as manager, to approach this subject, you should know at least something about how the mechanism of large of machine learning and large data set work. So for that, new version of Aspice has requirement of consistency and traceability between machine learning work products. Starting with requirements, then you have machine learning requirements, which is then adapted to software architecture, machine learning architecture, machine learning training and validation, and of course the testing for the same. And bidirectional traceability is in each and every aspect. Before I leave this Spice block, just mention that the Spice has two parts. One part is from engineers, another for assessors. So for engineers, there is a process reference model where are all processes defined and referenced by certain ID. And for assessors, there are certain rating process assessment model with some rating capabilities, indicators where each process is rated, how mature is it. So back to the reference model. Each element in that model, so it's basically the book of process description structured some way. So each process there has certain so-called attributes. One is the process ID, process name, process purpose, process outcomes, and best practices with output for products. So the left part is more relevant for process improvement, how we can reference it, how we can, what benefit would be, and right part is for assessment. Like if we achieve those purposes, right? If we got those deliveries, and do the products provide complete information? This is good connection point to my next subject here, which is how we structure and approach knowledge management. So with that being said, what we have here, we have so-called non-symbolic knowledge. Maybe I just put this both images. So from data comes from more non-symbolic knowledge, so-called nature, society, sounds, images, text. And I have some references here. Maybe we'll touch base it. This is input to our knowledge management or knowledge improvement model. Input comes from data. Then it is transformed by natural or generative languages into knowledge graphs, or using neural networks. It's being transformed into some meanings for the system or for human. That meaning, once it's identified, then can be embedded into some information which is readable by machines, either computer languages, programming languages, modeling languages, diagram systems, or even can be software system or some machinery, robot, artificial robot. How we get those non-symbolic knowledge? We have a ton of sources, starting from books, articles, videos, look at the forest, nature, society, social networks. All that is the data which we need to deal with. Here is quick survey. Again, we normally do it in groups with some interaction, but I just give you a brief idea. So use cases, how you normally capture information. Let's say in social media, like LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. If you spot something interesting, what you do is this, or if you want to reference to it later. Like what I used to do, I save it, each like LinkedIn article has save button, Facebook has save, Facebook even has, or YouTube has, you can create categories to which you save, so like your internal folders. For web articles, but also like what are options? It can be bookmarks, bookmarks, or you can save it into your, depending on device platform which you use, it can be like Keep, with Google Keep, or Notes, or OneNote, Evernote, so many. So many ways to capture. If it's physical book, also there are some options. Either you can, what I used to do, I used to apply some stickers, and I'm just going to sticker, and they take photos of those pages, and then organize photos in some way. So there are certain ways and use cases, and from history there are some researches done and some books written on this subject. So now I'm diving deep into some field of society, so-called, where we get data from, where I will indicate some experts in their work. I would start with maybe just his most recent, what was on the spot, like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, two of bigger changers of the world, which is quite in the air in recent years. So what was Elon Musk's, except of his great companies and great innovations? From the books and autobiographies which I read recently, I spotted, if I took two elements from Elon Musk, I liked that his power of deletion, whatever doesn't add value. If something, he asks, if something which you have in the process or the system doesn't bring value, delete it. From Steve Jobs' other opposite, in addition to his great capability, like he said, most enduring innovations marry art and science. And it's a so great product that so many people love, is iPhones, iPads. So except of that, he has one contradiction, which what I found in Elon Musk, is they have good products, but their infrastructure is closed. They're interconnected within its own infrastructure. Those devices work well between each other, like iPhone, iPad, iMac. But if you try to connect it with others, there could be some headache. In comparison, like Elon Musk, they don't hide their processes. They have open processes. You can find more on this. George Juice is speaking a lot. You can find it yourself. So how we approach knowledge, I would spot a few books on that. One is from James Clear, Atomic Habits. Another one is from Tiago Forte, Building Second Brain. I would start probably with the second one. He proposed methods, two methods. One is para, second is code. So he advised to capture what resonates. If you have some data source, some information, capture it. Second step is organize, save for accountability. Then distill, find essence. After that, express. Show your work. His work is based on work of another great achiever, Niklas Luhmann, social scientist, which has written 100,000 books and articles. And he also big amount he started but not finished, but he published also so many that resulted in so-called Zettelkasten method. Two concepts from that is each record which you capture should have fixed address, and it would help improve connectivity of thoughts. So if you have few of such nodes with these identifiers, you can connect them like in neural network and improve your knowledge. As you can see here is example of such node with unique identifier, link stacks, references, which can be organized in the tree. It looks similar like we have seen in my example with Aspice. Yeah, they have ID, they have description. Maybe they lack some organization of connection. This is where we start speaking about how to connect the gaps between different areas. Yeah, so we start mixing our concepts, not only from inside, outside of organization, but also from different domains, which will bring us towards innovation. So yeah, back to the work of the Forte. So in his code method capture, that part is considered to be second brain when it is structured. And this distilled part is nothing else like machine learning, what we have in MML here. Because that machine learning, it works by continuous removal of unnecessary information just to spot the pattern, those pattern which is repeated in information. So this is how we can learn from how AI works, applying it to our learning capabilities. Some helper could be this code method from Tiago Forte. And once we can capture, distill, and organize it, we can express it into publications. And hopefully those publications would not be adding more noise to all this data, which world is overwhelmed. And to organize information, it has parameters. So when information is organized into project areas, resources, but I am not going deep into that, just to fit the time. James Clear with his atomic habits has 4 laws of behavior change. And this applies to those areas which I mentioned when programmers like programs that don't want to be overwhelmed. Let's scroll to this part. They don't want to be overwhelmed with the processes, with the Spice, let's say. So for that, this could be of help. So we're mixing the open innovations from one area to another. So from 4 laws of behavior change, one is make it obvious. So when the process is written and it's not obvious why it should be used, this is what Elon Musk does. Delete it if it doesn't, if some part of that doesn't obvious why it's needed. Just it make easily accessible, then it will be habit for programming to use. Make it satisfying. So it should be, process should look nice, like those products which we have from Steve Jobs, right? Make it satisfying, make it easy. Don't overload the process description. One story I've heard from practice, when process was designed, right? It was Spice or some automotive process with functional safety, whatever. So it was designed. it is in quite in good shape. It passed out. It's even model based. It's in stages, but it's hard for other person to understand because except of those logical like metadata activities for products, outputs, inputs, except of that, it has so many connections and interrelations that it's hard to read it. It's hard to see that easiness part. And it's not attractive at the end for end user. There is habit loop, which I not explain right now, but you can find it helpful for applying these principles, the same principles for the process usage in your companies for process deployments. From other information and books or methods from information management, I would like just mention this few I liked, especially many years back. David Allen with his Getting Things Done. You see this method, similar patterns. You need to get inputs, you filter something, you organize information. And this part, which is like ghost organization, when you put it into some incubators or references or projects, this is overlapping with the concept methods which Zephyr Custom and Second Brain from Forte uses. And this is embedded. It's part of machine learning now. One more, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. Great material, great structure of information. Like what I like especially is that he mixes the human factors. We are human. We have skills, knowledge, and we have desires. And habits are in the center. And we have physical elements, mental and spiritual, especially social, emotional. So when engineer is in bad mood, he may produce bad product or make some mistake. And from Steven, these are layers of sharpen the saw, the seventh principle. If you're tired, if you have not enough sleep, it's a pattern which should not be repeated properly. Tony Buzan, his mind maps. I think it's Bible. It's basis of all the narrow neuroscience, because this neural networks, this machine learning, it's all connected by even the brains in human brain, the cells are connected, neurons are connected like mind map. So quite good source of information from mind maps. There are some other adaptations and appliances and tools and societies like from Jen Billinger Kumu maps. He has now one release like projects in the wild. It's a great concept when anyone can build his own mind map and share it with the world. Some samples I probably could spot you. Here's one example how Austin social innovation ecosystem map looks. So different blocks, different connections, which people can read information from and can contribute to. Yeah, looks nice. Quite scary, but nice. But it is what artificial intelligence does in the background with all the power of computing. Good material to research is from MDPI. This is a pioneer in solely open access publishing. What I liked about them, let me zoom it in, how they process data from articles. First, it's data collection. Collect data articles, then convert the PDF files into text files, create CSV files, have kind of database. Then process those data, organize data, remove outer names, clean up data, remove abstract, so to distract keywords. Then data is cleaned, tokenized. You have some stop words, dictionary, and by the way, I would mention again Aspice here. What I've heard from my experience and from other conferences, for many organizations, Aspice is considered as it brought the dictionary, so that different stakeholders, different parts of the process speak the same language. So that's why it's important to concise and clean data before you communicate. So once the data is clean, the topic is modified, topic is identified, sorry, and topic is modeled for implementation. And then it can be visualized either in diagrams or mind maps or heat maps or histograms. Speaking about AI, this is good reference recently published. Henry Kimberg, if you remember his nice videos with drawing graphics regarding the from agile, from product ownership in nutshell. So he did similar video regarding AI, generative AI in nutshell. You can watch this in spare time. He explains how neural network works, and interesting fact, he explains that the draft for this his work was facilitated by artificial intelligence itself, but yeah, the graphics and video he did himself because he had some problems. So AI is not that good as his human drawing capabilities. So I'm back to closing the loop with where I started, with understanding how we learn, how human brain works. And good source of information for that is from Oliver Cavigloli, Olica. He has great resources regarding how to understanding how we learn. And he has few books also, like Dual Coding with Teachers, teaching walkthroughs, and just what few of important reviews. In many cases, we are going with our intuition about how we learn. And very few teachers' education courses cover principles of cognitive psychology at all related to learning. And trainers or teachers, some books on that, they propagate misunderstanding about learning. Discrepancy between research and practice is a lot more than just communication breakdown. If you got something wrong, you may even harm yourself or product if you misinterpret what is being explained there and you do it in practice and do it wrong. There are a number of reasons why teachers may not be inclined to engage in evidence-based practice. We want to open up the lines of communication between researchers, teachers, and students. So I highly advise this resource, Communication Breakdown between Science and Practice in Education, from Understanding How to Learn book. How to improve learning practice. Like you should do some notes, sketching, testing. You should repeat your practice and elaborate, share with someone, ask questions, and organize it. It's concepts and examples, organize it. And dual coding applies many media as you have to incorporate more senses of human. For understanding to happen, new information needs to be connected to pre-existing knowledge. Understanding can be increased through strategies that promote elaboration. Elaboration describes the process of adding features to one's memories. It's important to use multiple concrete examples to illustrate abstract concepts. And I would add it's important also to mix up concepts from different disciplines, like we do in case of open innovation. So to wrap up, let's look at this big picture again. So information is traveling for non-symbolic sources through the human organization or AI or whatever into symbolic knowledge, which is then used for modeling behavior of systems, machines, processes. Which can be building blocks of architecture capabilities for enterprise. So if we have the so-called enterprise architecture digital twin with all the information structured into business processes, that can be applied into organizational layers, like where we have enterprises at the top with their systems, and we have platform which operate with data. Systems operate with information, and enterprise is encapsulates knowledge. And consider, again, to mixing different concepts, consider your human body, your brain, consider it as enterprise also. You can apply all these principles to yourself also. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but these diagrams and concepts, it's from Kamiano blog and from his nice book and also some information. Enterprise Architecture's Fundamentals by Remy Funander. You can find more concepts there. So one bigger picture, I just brought it because it mentions similar what we have in Aspice, the capabilities, initial, measure, define, measure, optimize. He says that using all those practices and technologies of bringing data into knowledge and information, they can be building blocks for your engineering process capabilities, and they can be reused then in different variants of process, agile use case, okay, or some even scale agile or compliance use case. And if you speak about the compliance, I bring this topic to summarize talk about Aspice. Why Aspice was needed? This is the sources. Because of the complexity of software development, we need developers can store information in the heads. So there is always common sense that there should be some system to store them. And that has to be explained in configuration management in terms of Aspice. Manufacturers need criteria to evaluate suppliers, and necessary to know what to do, because assessor would never be satisfied with answer. Everybody doing their best. There is no way to demonstrate software does what it's intended to do unless functionality is documented. Improve transparency, quality, and productivity. Identify risks, gaps for your development to make the process better. And responsibilities has to be tracked. So there are certain needs. If you forget about Spice, there are certain needs in the process, in the programmer's work, which can be satisfied and is good practice to satisfy using the Spice practice. The question is, we as process engineers or whoever applied, how are we good into describing that into the language, into the categories, understandable and easily captured by those who use. And for that, we need to filter, delete a lot of information. And with those only precise pieces which are left, we can build a nice system which will be used and which will bring benefits. Few of those benefits, again from Spice example, and software, earlier defect detection, less systematic faults, better products, more accurate plans and estimates, more predictable organizational performance, more reusable assets and knowledge experience, lower cost, and at the end, happier customers. So we're reaching end of this presentation. With some practice, I believe you would be able to get some benefit, or at least if you research these resources, I'll provide the link. You will improve, if not your organizational capabilities, then your capability as a human. And fortunately, you could apply those AI practices to your own brain. And yeah, you still can use those ChatGPT to help you perform. That's good. As future behind that. But there is risk that when this guy becomes too smart, there is risk for humanity. And if we forget about one factor, mental, spiritual, it might be very dangerous. And to avoid that, there are already some movements I not mentioned, but it's more for Slovenic, like from Max Nebo. So there are certain work in that spiritual direction also with Joe Dispenza, but that's another subject for which I would probably join Magic with my wife to broadcast. So for this, I would like to thank you so much. And it is just first point. It's quite a salad here, but if mixed with the right proportions and added a bit of spices and connected with good intent, we will reach the better outcome for the world. Thank you with all the best wishes.